Italy just shocked Europe. While the UK's Keir Starmer and France's Emmanuel Macron hid underneath their desks like cowards, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni is stepping up. Italy's sending air defense systems and military assets directly in the line of fire, humiliating her spineless European colleagues and showing the entire world who really represents the new leadership of civilizationalist Europe. We're going to look at this extraordinary political realignment that's happening on the continent, a realignment that President Trump is fully acknowledging, and what it means for this war and the future of the West. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your patron professor, here to help you rightly understand this absolutely stunning turn in the war with breaking news and analysis you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. What happened in the last 24 to 48 hours really is nothing less than a geopolitical earthquake on Europe's southern flank. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni went on national radio, RTL 102.5, and just announced that Italy will send air defense assistance to Gulf countries in direct response to Iran's missile and drone strikes. And she didn't just say it as like some abstract expression of solidarity. She gave the concrete reason for what they're doing here. There are tens of thousands of Italian citizens living in those Gulf states and roughly 2,000 Italian troops already deployed there, and they will be protected. Now, at the very same time this was happening, Italy's parliament in Rome passed a motion giving Meloni's government explicit authorization to deploy air defense systems, anti-missile batteries, and surveillance technologies to help the Gulf states defend against Iranian missiles and drones. Now, the key here is that this resolution doesn't just talk about, diplomatic support or humanitarian aid. It specifically greenlights hard military capabilities, SAM systems, radar, and integrated air defense assets. And it reiterates that Italian bases will remain open to the United States for logistical support of ongoing operations, in stark contrast to the weak-kneed leftists in Spain and Keir Starmer in the UK. In other words, Italy is not just issuing statements. Italy is plugging itself into the war-fighting architecture that is defending the Gulf and, by extension, defending the entire Western energy system. But what's so fascinating here is that if you listen carefully to Meloni's language, you can actually hear something even deeper going on. So she stressed three things. She stressed friendship with the Gulf states, the duty to protect Italians living and serving there, and the vital importance of Gulf energy to Italy and Europe's survival. And why that's so interesting is that there's not a single mention of the liberal international order or an appeal to the rules-based order or defending globalism or anything like that. That's just all gone. It's completely absent from her rationale. This is civilizational realism. She's signaling that Italy understands this war is not just about Israel and Iran. It's about whether the West and Western civilization retains control over its own lifelines, energy, trade, and the safety of its people abroad. And so she says very simply, we're going in. Now, contrast that with the utter cowardice that we've been hearing from Britain's far-left Labour Prime Minister Keir Starmer. In a recent interview, when asked about the war and specifically about the United States using British bases to hit Iranian targets, Starmer made it absolutely clear. He's like, we're not getting involved. He told British media that he would not allow the United States to use UK bases for offensive operations against Iran. And instead, what he did is he ran back and forth to Britain's mosques to give speeches like this.
But on Iran, I want to make clear the UK was not involved in the offensive strikes of the US and Israel. And that remains the case. As many of you will know.
So he's busy pandering to the Muslim population, the rapidly growing Muslim population in the UK, and cowardly distancing himself from this operation. Where's his loyalties lie? Do his loyalties lie with a civilizationally distinct West or with some nefarious liberal globalism? I mean, think about that. The country that once stood alone against Hitler now has a government that openly tells Washington, you can't launch strikes from our soil. You're going to offend our rapidly growing Muslim population if you do that. That's not neutrality. That's cowardice. So while Maloney is sending air defense batteries to intercept Iranian missiles before they reach Gulf cities and energy infrastructure, Starmer is effectively saying, you're on your own. Let me go to another Ramadan meeting. One leader is looking at tens of thousands of her citizens saying, these are my peeps and I'm going to protect them. The other is looking at the media and mosques and promises not to offend. One is treating this as a war of a clash of civilizations that demands courage. The other is treating it as a PR problem that demands caution. Now, let's zoom in on exactly what Italy is doing here, because it's not mere symbolism. It's pretty impressive stuff. According to multiple reports, Italy will deploy air defense systems to key Gulf partners. These systems are designed to intercept precisely the kind of weapons Iran has been firing. So ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, drones aimed at bases, cities, and energy infrastructures, the importance of which just got foregrounded with the latest Iranian attack on the oil refinery in Bahrain, which just happened hours ago. Right, so what's so key here is that Maloney is not just condemning Iranian strikes, she's sending the hardware that shoots the missiles down. This comes on top of the roughly 2,000 Italian troops already stationed in the region on ongoing missions, and it dovetails with Italy's naval presence safeguarding shipping lanes that Europe's economy depends on. The Trump administration has been very clear. The war is going to intensify, not taper off. And in that environment, the choice facing European leaders is very simple. Either you help build the shield that keeps Iranian missiles from plunging your energy and your expatriates into chaos, or you sit back, right, put out carefully worded statements and hope that Washington will somehow do it all for you. Talk about freeloaders. Maloney chose the first path. Starmer chose the second. And I'm going to show you what that all really means. Emergencies don't wait for perfect conditions. I mean, one wrong turn, one breakdown, one unexpected storm, and suddenly you're fighting the cold instead of getting help. That's why this tiny little orange bag matters. Because inside, if you can believe it, like magic, is this full-size, heat-reflective emergency sleeping bag designed to trap body heat and protect you in extreme conditions. I've tried it myself, gang. It is so warm. It's amazing. It's waterproof. It's windproof. Bright orange so rescuers can spot you fast. Emergency experts recommend having one for every family member. It weighs almost nothing. It fits in your glove box or go bag, and it works when everything else fails. Sierra Madre engineered them to be compact, affordable, and more advanced than bulky sleeping bags. They weigh 10 times less than a typical sleeping bag, but they're 7 feet long and 3 feet wide, so they'll fit anyone. A typical sleeping bag would cost you well over $200. Right now, they're marked down over 59% with free shipping on multi-packs. You won't find these in stores. They're available right here. Get your family ready today and save a bundle before the sale ends. Oh, and I almost forgot, the 10-pack ships free, doubling up your savings. Click below and make sure your family has real protection when it matters most. What's so fascinating here is we're seeing in many ways a complete reversal of the civilizationalists like Maloney and the globalists like Starmer. So back in the day, it would be the liberal globalists. Back in the day, it would be Tony Blair, who were all in on these military operations in the Middle East and regime changes in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya. But now the civilizationalists are taking over. And what we have to understand is that what nationalist populists like Maloney and Trump, for that matter, represent is something very, very different than the neocon globalists. Remember, according to the Brussels class, Meloni was supposed to be too far right or too populist or too nationalist, too conservative. But in the moment of crisis, it is precisely that national civilizational identity that gives her the clarity to act. She talks openly about Italians abroad, about Italian soldiers, about Italy's energy lifelines. She sees Italy as a particular people in a particular place with particular duties. She sees Europe as a civilization with its own unique identity and unique destiny that needs to be protected and defended at all costs. Starmer, on the other hand, speaks in the vague language of restraint on all sides and avoiding escalation and the importance of the international order, all the while trying to actively tie Washington's hands at critical bases. Sanchez, the feckless socialist prime minister of Spain, is doing the same thing. So in real time, before our very eyes, Europe is being spiritually redrawn. On one map, the old Brussels-London axis of managerial globalism, technocrats, process, committees, managerialism, statements, and above all, a commitment to never, ever, 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 ever in any way offend racial and religious minorities. Those are their top priorities. But on the new map, this emerging axis of civilizational populism, a United States under Trump, an increasingly right-wing Israel fighting for its own civilizational survival, and now an Italy under Meloni decisively stepping forward as a serious power. That is the new rising world that we see. Italy backs Gulf partners with concrete air defense deployments, coordinates with Washington, and openly acknowledges that if the Gulf falls either into chaos or in China's proxies' hands, Europe's energy and security go with it. Now, Meloni and her foreign minister are careful to say that Italy is not formally entering into the Middle Eastern war officially, and they're supporting their partners in reinforcing defense, not offense. But make no mistake, I mean, if you're sending integrated air defense systems into a live theater where Iranian missiles are flying, you are in the war, whether you admit it or not. Once those Italian-operated systems shoot down an Iranian missile aimed at a Gulf city or an American base, Rome has crossed a line that Starmer is desperately trying to avoid. Meloni is betting that history will remember who stood up when it mattered. Starmer is betting that history will forget who sat down. So, what does this mean going forward? Well, bottom line, it means that the center of gravity in Europe has already shifted. An Italy that's willing to send air defense systems to the Gulf to openly tie its fate to the defense of Western energy and Western allies is an Italy that can never, ever from now on be ignored. And a Britain, and a Spain for that matter, it's unwilling to let the United States use its bases to stop Iran as a Britain that will increasingly be, that's a Britain that will increasingly be worked around, bypassed, and frankly, I'll just be blunt, forgotten. In the future architecture of the West, Washington will remember who showed up and who shamefully hid. Hey gang, if you like this video, come join me in the Courageous Patriots Club. That's where we have the real conversation, exclusive weekly content, and our Monday night live Q&A with patriots just like you. Click the link below, get access, and I'll see you inside.